Just got done with a Labor Day camping trip. We did some car camping. We went up to Sawbill Lake, Sawbill Campground on Sawbill Lake, and did some car camping with a tent. We used a 4-person Habitat from REI. It's a great little car camping tent. It's kept us dry for the most part. Haven't been in torrential downpours, I guess, but it rained pretty good on us the morning that we left, basically. Started about 3:34 in the morning, and it rained pretty well, and it kept us dry. Overall, you know, it's like any REI product, built pretty well. Doesn't have all the features you'd like. It's not as light as you would like, but it definitely does the job. But I got to use these sleeping pads. I talked about these a little bit earlier in the year on a different video, comparing the different sleeping pads that I have. And again, kind of my requirements, I'm 6'5", and you know, I'm that 300-pound range. So, you know, I've been kind of just battling finding the perfect sleeping mat, which I've just kind of come to the determination there isn't the perfect sleeping mat, but there's some that are a lot better than others for different reasons. And I got a chance to use these a little bit more, in a little bit more ways. So I used the Zlite, which I kind of said basically I like. It's light. It's way more comfortable than it looks like it should be. But the problem is it's too narrow, and when I lay on it, it goes right up my back, and my arms hang off the side. Which, you know, then you have cold arms all night, especially when I'm using a quilt. I mean, I could get in a little mummy bag, which I dislike, you know, kind of getting off topic a little bit, but it's too narrow for me, in other words. And what I did get to use it again for, was just we brought our hammocks just to kind of nap in and just kind of hang out, read and things like that. And I put this in, instead of putting on an underquilt, I just put this in my War Bonnet XLC. I put it in the little sleeping pad pouch pocket underneath my the body of the hammock, and it worked really well. You definitely felt the silver material reflecting the heat back up at you. And it worked great, but again, shoulders, hips, as that hammock kind of wraps around you, you definitely feel it there. But what I kind of thought is if I had another one of these, cut a few of these squares off, cut a few of these folds off, maybe at about this point right here, I could then extend that, lay it out lengthwise to cover my shoulders, and maybe not quite get all the way down to my hips. Or maybe I could just get another one of these and cut it in half and then lay one and then another layer. So essentially it came 2 of these. That would work. It's not the most ideal situation, but I think that would work, and that would hit all the coverage areas that I need to work as an underquilt. And these are relatively cheap. I want to say in the $30 range. I don't remember what exactly I paid for it, but it was relatively cheap. 2 of them would probably still be in the range of, if not a little bit cheaper than what you would pay for a standard sleeping mat. So that's an option. I was also thinking of using some Gossamer Gear product. They have a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch. I think it's a closed foam material that they use and recommend for backpacking and for hammocking. That works really well, and I know I've seen it in a video from Shug that he uses something, if not that exact product, something really similar to that. And that would be a really good option as well. I could get enough of that to cover the shoulders and the hips, and with this laying lengthwise, I think I'd be pretty warm that way. But the other thing I thought is that this might allow me to bring the temperature range that I can hammock camp in comfortably down a little bit if I put this in and got that, and either use the Gossamer Gear or this setup. I'm not going to carry this all with my underquilt and my top quilt plus this. I'm not necessarily going to do that if I'm backpacking, but if I was winter camping and had a pulk to carry everything on, this is lightweight, doesn't weigh anything. I wouldn't have any problem just bringing this along as extra, if nothing else, just to have something to sit on. and kind of insulate me from the cold on the ground, but would definitely work and maybe be able to bring that temperature range down a little bit. I think the system I would use would be a top quilt, under quilt kind of cocoon with my 0 degree bag inside of that, me inside that, and then maybe putting this in the sleeve that's built into the hammock. And I think I could really get down to some pretty cool temperatures at that point. You know, the coldest I've camped in is 40 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, and I was cold. I was definitely cold towards the just before dawn, like in that 3:30 to dawn range. I was getting a little bit cold, and that was with a 0 degree bag and another bag, a synthetic bag on the inside of that. And you know, it was getting chilly. I think we finally fired up the stove when it got really cold and got some heat going because everybody was starting to get a little cold. But this, we'll see. We'll see. I'll experiment with that, and I will definitely have a backup tent with the stove in it, probably in case it does get too cold. But we're definitely going to give that a try this week or this winter. The other thing I got to reuse then was my Air Rail 1.5 REI brand mat, and I talked a little bit about this before, and I did think it was very, very comfortable. Now, this is really the first time I've used it sleeping on the ground. I used it once in my hammock, and it still didn't quite work. That was the next step to using this. It still didn't quite have the coverage on the shoulders and the hips. So even though it has these little wings that fold out, it still didn't quite have the coverage I needed. So, you know, underquilt was the next step, and underquilt fixes everything. So what I liked about this, though, it's a self-inflating pad, and I just undid the valve, threw this in the tent. When I came in to blow it up, you know, at the end of the day, for me, it took me about 3.5 breaths to fully inflate it. So you can't beat that. That's one of my pet peeves with some air mattresses is some of them have just taken so long to blow up, especially as you got into thicknesses that were actually comfortable. For my Big Agnes one, for sure, that just takes forever for me to blow that thing up. Let this self-inflating do most of the work, and then 3.5 breaths and you're done. Now granted, I probably have a bigger lung capacity than just about everybody out there. Years of swimming will do that to your lungs. So you might take somebody else 4, 5, 6 breaths, whatever. But the point is, really easy to blow up. It has these little extra wings on the sides here, and that gives me that little extra coverage I need to keep my shoulders and arms up off the ground when I'm sleeping. It's comfortable. The first 2 nights were more comfortable than the third, and I don't know, maybe I had too much to drink or whatever on that last night, and I just didn't sleep as well. Or if it's because I knew the rain was coming and we're going to deal with that, I don't know. But anyway, it was definitely comfortable. It's not as comfortable as the hammock. Hammock I slept straight through when I was out in Washington for sure, and finally had a full underquilt, top quilt system going. Once I got the warmness issues taken care of, slept straight through on that, super comfortable, hardly moved. This, you get that heroin arm feel, that kind of tingly arm that you have to kind of roll over to your other side, roll to your back, roll to your other side, roll to your stomach, and kind of you're doing that all night. It wasn't as bad with this as it has been with others, but it was still there. So I coupled these two together, so I have a little bit more space because I do like to sprawl out when I sleep. And this is a tapered pad, so if your feet aren't right next to each other, you're off the pad a little bit. You know, it's not the worst thing in the world, especially for a pad, but it's better than most, but those issues are still there. So for me, hammock's still 1A, or hammock is still the first choice. These are 2A and 2B, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for lightweight, easy to deploy, easy to pack up, that's this one. If you're looking for relatively lightweight, easy to deploy, easy to pack up, but you know, there's a little more fidgetiness with these, as far as just blowing them up, giving them the time to self-inflate, packing them back up in the morning, you know, that kind of stuff. It's not hard to roll this back up and get it into the stuff sack, but it's still there. It's not as quick as this is. So this is there. This weighs about 1 pound, 10 ounces. I don't know what this weighs, but it's not a lot. So those are those two. I did, and like I said, I got those chances to kind of just use this on the ground. Got to try this again, you know, kind of as an underquilt, and I think I found a way that I could make this work if I needed to. But that being said, my local Libre Habanero underquilt just arrived today. So now I have my underquilt, my top quilt, both are 20-degree rated. I'm set for the hammock. These are just some other options, just kind of those times to get to play around and see what works and what doesn't. So this is going to be used for winter camping, I think. This is going to be used for tent camping, car camping, festival camping. Anytime I don't want to have a hammock, I can't have a hammock, don't have a hammock, or just need a place to crash. This is what I'm going to be using. So yeah, those are those, and let me know what you think.